that I didn't. I mean, anybody, especially that knew me at the time, I tried to be a lot of different rock musicians,
Right,
that I was real big into. Like I sent you the picture,
right, right.
and things like that, and I had an identity crisis. Um, how would I put it? Um, you know, I I never fully I never fully accepted myself as it was because I had a vision or an idea of myself. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I thought I was, you know, Caucasian until I was like 10
Right, right,
because nobody had ever told me. And so I viewed life in a different way,
right, right.
because nobody had ever told me certain things. So to be honest, I didn't really think about it,
Yeah. You were
and
starting
so I just thought I was just the
to
same as
manifest.
everybody else.
Right,
Yeah. So I didn't really put too much thought into that. Now I know a lot of viewers are probably thinking that's the craziest thing I've ever heard, but it's true.
no,
You know, that's just kind of what it was. Um, I wasn't around a lot of things that weren't in certain realms. So I was around a lot of Caucasian community, Asian community,
right. Environment.
because I had cousins that were from, the Philippines and from Korea. So, they were descended from there, And so I was around a lot of different cultures, but, uh the black culture, so to say, was probably the least culture I was probably around
Right.
on the list of things that I was really around, right?
Hmm.
And so I don't know if you would call it identity crisis. I didn't know that side of things,
Right.
and then the others, it became aware to me later on. And when that became aware to me, I wasn't really drawn into that because I didn't grow up in those neighborhoods, in those places. I grew up in the
Right.
suburbs.
Hmm.
So I didn't know a lot of things. Anything that I know is what I've learned from other people, you know. But
Right.
a lot of that stuff I didn't experience,
Right.
you
Now,
know.
but you said something. I'm gonna give it
Yeah.
back to you, but I don't want to keep the conversation flowing. You said that you don't think a lot of viewers would understand that. But let me say something
Yeah.
to the viewers because what you just described would only be an anomaly to someone who don't know environment. They don't understand. And a perfect example of what you're saying, being in the environment that you grew up in, it was more of a Caucasian type of style,
Yeah.
right? Or an environment. My environment is totally different. Now, even in the environment we call the hoods and our urban America, the urban society, we have other people or peoples. When I say Puerto Rican, Mexican, Oriental, and white, if they grew up in our hoods, we call it the hood. If they grew up in our neighborhood, guess what? They thought they was black. You ever meet a white guy think he black?
Oh,
Yes.
plenty.
Okay.
Plenty
So
of those
the
guys.
thing is that that's an because of environment. If they didn't grow up in the environment, because a lot of them didn't grow up in the environment, but they were attracted to the culture,
Hmm.
and so that's another way of developing an identity crisis. Now, it's not a crisis until you start trying to call a black man the N word, like it's
Right.
okay, right? Like they do, like we normally do in urban culture. We have taken that, excuse me, that word, and we devalued it, and we play with it. I'm not the greatest. I am not the greatest advocate of that word because where it really come from. But now you'll have other. What's the guy? China Mac. You heard of him? China Mac.
Oh yeah, I've heard of China Mac.
All
Yeah, I've
right.
seen an interview with him. Yeah.
You think that's Oriental culture? Them guys live by? No, it's not.
No, no, he was very heavily influenced by another culture.
Right. Okay. So is he in an identity crisis? Because I look at him, I don't know him, but I look at him and say, look, the guy, look, it's kind of funny because it's not funny, not making fun of him, but it's funny because that's not what you would normally see. But it
Right.
proves that environment. It show you how powerful and impactful environment is. Now he wouldn't another Chinese person, or I mean Oriental person. I don't know what exact Oriental person that would come from where he's from.
Mm-hmm.
Probably look at him like, what is he? Look like a fool because they have never been exposed to that environment. It's not that he a fool. This is okay. That's the identity he chose. You get me? So here's the thing. All right, is it an identity crisis? Are you doing it for a reason, or is this who you really are? You might be in an identity. He might be in an identity crisis. I'm just using that guy name because I hear probably more of a popular guy. But it's
You
many.
know, I got a lot of respect for that guy because he's actually a really cool guy. He just grew up around the culture, and then he was a fan of the rap scene. So, and he grew up around that. So that's where that came from. But his family's from China.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And but he's a very respectable guy, and he keeps what he says, because he had a situation where there was some guy talking bad or something happened, and he said, well, if you want to do this, I'll square up with you and we'll handle this like men.
Yeah,
We'll box it out. And there was video, and you actually see him box it out with this guy,
yeah. I
and
mean,
and it squashed it.
there's something that happens in the hood. I mean, we grew up doing
Yeah.
the same thing, bro. I mean, that's not what they showing. That ain't nothing. I could tell you, and any of viewers that know me, they know that's what we did. We used to box all the time, and we go, let's go ahead and get the one-on-one. Let's get it. Then remember that things changed from people wanting a fist fight to shooting. So now you got little pockets of people trying to come back to let's get the fair one. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna pull up on you and let's go ahead and get it done. That's what they're saying, at least. That's a lot of this stuff is sometimes you got to be careful to be able to divide facts from fiction on the social media, you know. But that was something we always did. Let's get the fair one. Let's get the one-on-one. And so,
Yeah.
but with him, again, he's from China. The culture that he's accepting now is nowhere in China. He didn't come from that. His parents didn't teach him that. He chose it, or whether I don't know how his life went. Maybe geographically, he found himself in the urban society, right? And so when you arrive, it's eat or get ate. It's eat or get ate. So you go to school with black people, you play with black people, black people all around you. So you're bound to pick up not how we talk everyone, but you bound to pick up a dialect.
Right.
No, so the same with you. What you said shouldn't. What I'm saying all this to do is say people shouldn't look at it as a crazy thing. It's an environmental thing. When you understand how powerful environment is, that's why you have the dialect that you have.
Right.
When you hear China Mac, the guy talk, you don't hear. You go to China, you ain't gonna hear nobody talk like that. Only in the urban community. When he's putting on for the urban community or whatever, I guess. I don't know the guy. I just recently was laughing at a video between him and Charleston White. That's why I brought it up. And
Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy.
yeah, but we're talking about it. We're talking about identity crisis.
Right.
Would you say? Let's use him for an example.
Okay.
Would you say he's stuck in an identity crisis, or that's just who he chose to be? Because there's a difference to me.
I think with China Mac, that's who he really is.
Okay, I don't know the guy like that.
Yeah, I've heard his story.
So that
And
means to me, this is why I asked that. I met some people like that. But when they go to their house, they don't talk like that. So if you're at your house where you're the most comfortable
yeah,
around and you don't talk like that, then you haven't chose, you didn't choose that culture that way. You are stuck in an identity crisis. You're trying to identify with a group of people to be a part. But when you
right,
come home to the place where that environment really doesn't exist, you switch up. If you switch up, then you haven't, then you're stuck in a crisis. That's the crisis. Because you got to
right.
keep going back and forth between who you are and who you want to be. You know, and when you in your 30s, forward, I mean,
Uh-huh.
you know, sometimes it take people a while to figure out who they are. I can go with that. But when you just
Right.
making yourself something out of opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
because him being attached to the black community brought opportunity to him. Okay, now I'm talking about negative too. You know, you can read between the lines when you've been around. So some of the things I heard him say,
Uh-huh.
I've seen him like 3 times. You know, that he involves himself in a certain lifestyle. The same kind of codes in the urban snitches get stitches, or don't rat, don't tell. You see, where did you get that from? So you see a person getting hurt right there in front of you. Oh, don't tell, I ain't no snitch. But yet throw that stuff away. See, we're trying to heal our communities. We're not trying to infect it. So this is what I mean. A person running around with an identity crisis don't get to come to this community and do none of that.
He also did time in Rikers Island too.
I don't care where he went. Should have stayed there. I mean, if you're gonna be what it is, I mean, going to jail don't make you tough.
He just made some bad decision calls when he
Yeah,
was young, you know.
me, but here's the thing. This is what our community did. See, we gotta stop champ. That's an unfortunate thing that you went
Yeah.
to jail. I wouldn't want to tell nobody that. But if that's the best thing I could tell you, I went to jail to make you have some confidence in my masculinity. No, I went and defend my country. I went to defend my community.
Right.
That needs to have more value than these people with these identity crises trying to come in and just make it worse. You try to make the neighborhoods bleed more. So that's kind of why I said that, we're trying to heal,
Mm-hmm.
not trying to stay sick or let people come on in and make us sicker. So that's what I mean by the crisis. That's what I think the identity crisis can do. I can't think of the lady name. What's the lady name that was famous? She was black.
Oh, Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah, her. Okay, that's another one. See,
She's got an identity crisis.
that's what I'm talking. See, I'm pulling
She's got a real deep identity crisis.
an identity crisis too. But look at the similarities. I'm gonna use China Mac. You did not grow up here, bro. You one generation here or something. You're talking about a people who are generations here, who've developed an entire culture. So for Rachel to do, a lot of people saw that like, oh, how could you do that? Yeah. Well, she said, what's the difference between her? What's the difference between Slim Shady, a lot of these white rappers that want to act black? What's difference between a black man and
I
trying
could break that down right now. China Mac, guys like Eminem or China Mac, they grew up in the neighborhoods and they took on certain traits naturally, but they knew, like China Mac knows he's Chinese.
sure, yeah,
Eminem knows he's white, right? And they just like the music or the culture. Rachel Dolezal literally she got to a point where she actually believed that she was black and she went to an SBCU underneath an SBCU scholarship and she claimed that she really was black.
right. I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, she actually really thought, and she had everybody fooled,
sure did.
know? And then, you know, her parents came out and said, no, she's not. She's our daughter. And this is actually who she is and what
To
she's
me, she
about.
was harmless. She was harmless. It
Yeah,
was,
she was harmless.
huh? It wasn't
She was
like
harmless.
when I see guys like the guy China Mac, you talking about riding on people. You talking about in our communities. You talking about killing our people, bro. And when I hear that exchange, I've heard him say those, you know, doing this and doing that, and trying to throw coals into the fire that we're trying to put out.
Well, the thing about China Mac was that he was part of the Chinese mafia. He's part of Chinese gangs.
Yeah.
So he did when he did that stuff, he was fighting against, you know, Chinese people. That's the thing about it.
He's in our communities, brother. And when we turn on social media and we look at certain things that we like, if he popping up, he's he's in our community then. Our community, our social media community, how people interact with one another. So we see the videos that's making him popular,
Mm-hmm.
videos or whatever he's doing in the urban culture, not in the Chinese culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is in the urban culture and for the urban culture. That's like, okay, like so it was a time, and this is where people get that Uncle Tom thing and all that crazy stuff, you know, calling people Uncle Toms and stuff because they don't agree and they don't have an understanding about environment. They don't have you know, they just don't know. So when you don't know, you shouldn't do this, but when people don't know, they normally go to hurling insults. And that's
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know what else to say or to do. But the truth of it is that these things have always happened. It was times where we a lot of our people wanted to be whites, to where, excuse me, instead of displaying the kinky hair, they would relax it to look like white hair, right?
Uh-huh.
That wasn't what God gave you. So this thing is not just directed at China Mac, but he's the same person as the black man or woman trying to look like the white person, or the white man trying to look like the black person, talk like that. You see what I'm saying? All of these are identity things. So we all have done it. It was a time, but are you still stuck in it?
Uh-huh.
For people who used to die, not die, but with the perm their hair, that was
Yeah.
only to look more like white hair. There's no other, you know, that was what it was. Your identity. You weren't happy with what you have. God has just given you. And so, you know, and it's a rough thing. But I think it'll help people get through it, that these things are common. And that you are, and I don't see why a person would go, oh, you think you white. Okay, do you know the person? Do you know where they come from? Do you know their environment? Do you know that you can take anybody in place of an environment and the influence of that environment will be on them? If you can't understand that, then you make yourself look very bad and weak when you come out and say, "Oh, he think he white," when you don't know the person. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I straightened my hair.
huh?
I straightened my hair for many years. Yeah.
Why'd you do it? Though, honestly, why'd you do it?
I like the way that the style that I had, you know, I thought it looked good. So I
But
was like, all right.
trying to identify with being more of a white person, honestly.
Did I identify with more being a white person? I just like the hairstyle, and you know, and a lot of the musician guys I had these cool hairstyles, so I wanted to try a
Oh,
hairstyle.
you want to try it? Like, okay. Well, that may be your thing. But I know, and it wasn't everybody who was, I guess, at that time
Mm-hmm.
getting their hair perm didn't want to be white, so to speak. But it was being pointed out by other black people. Here's what I mean by this. It was
Mm-hmm.
being pointed out by other black people. Why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you not happy with the way you are? And
Uh-huh.
now listen to what I'm saying. That produces the identity crisis. When you allow other people to tell you certain things, you know, how you supposed to look, and tell you why you're doing what you're doing without hearing from why. You get
Mm-hmm.
and you get a lot of people jump on you jump on the Farrakhan train. You're not Farrakhan. You're not Malcolm X. We take what we learned from the time that they had here on Earth, and we try to do better with well, Farrakhan's still here, but when Malcolm was here, you try to do better and be a better humanitarian. Because even Malcolm and even Farrakhan, they may have started from a pro-black stance, but they evolved into becoming humanitarians. That's where we all need to be. Meaning that I don't care what your skin is, I love you. Now, if I can't, unless you do something that's unlovable to me, and like I said, I call everybody brother and sister until you give me a reason not to call you that. And I should have a love for everybody, because this is my identity now. This is the identity I chose. You see what I'm saying? And I don't care what nobody else say. I choose this identity.
Right.
So, this is what I mean by other people coming, oh, you trying to be like the white man. Not necessarily so. It could be just that generic, like I just like this hairstyle, but I want my hair better than it. But see, in the mind, people will say things to you and control your mind if you allow them to. The problem is that we don't say things back.
Right.
To a bully on a YouTube video or nothing, nowhere. Tell you who you are. God is the one who made you. They didn't make you. So this is messed with our community again. You're trying to be like a white man. You're trying to be like a white man. And so that puts a stigma. But it also, guess what else it causes?
What's up?
Division.
Division. Okay, correct. Yeah.
In the same community. Division. So, after saying all that, man, were you in an identity crisis, or was it just a stage? Because it's stages. I don't think.
I would say, honestly, for me, it's how I grew up, and it was what I was around, and it was a culture that I liked. So I kind of just gravitated more towards that, and like, even like, you could say to some level, like, dating preference was the thing that was just what's attractive towards me. What do I like? Right.
Yeah.
So, and did I have an exact type in my head? No, because I liked a variety of types. Now, to be honest, I've never dated a black person. No, I've that's true. I never have.
Okay.
And I was cool with everybody, so it wasn't like I looked down on anybody or something like that. I never did, but there were certain things that I found appealing that really stuck out to me, that I thought, that were like, wow, okay, that's somebody I would want to date, and maybe that person, I don't know, there were girls that were black that were attracted to me, and I never dated them because they didn't have the things that I thought that were appealing to me. They weren't, in, especially like in high school and stuff, like, because it was about scenes and this is popular, this isn't. So we're in my world, for me, they didn't fit in that world, because a lot of them were in a whole nother category, right? So there there was one girl that was closer to something like I was, but okay, I'm just gonna say it. She wasn't that attractive. Okay, so
okay.
no, she was a little big.
Yeah, when I mean that's
it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, and
she was
here's what I like to say. Let you continue.
Yeah,
I have to think more humanity, right?
Right.
there's people of all types throughout the world, right? I know one brother, he moved to the Philippines, and you have some people who do not no longer, and I'm gonna speak about the black community first, uh, want to even be with black women, or with black women don't want to be with them, or they're looking for.
Mhm.
See, all of the division has to do with identity. It's going back to what I'm saying, right? Your preference is just your preference. It
Yeah.
would be different if you say, I do not like black people at all. I
Right.
to them, I don't want to. If you didn't like black people, me and you wouldn't. It'd been impossible for me and you to be friends.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
impossible. For
Yeah.
me, this is who I am, and you are who you are. I don't expect you
Right.
to be anything else but who you are, and I love you for it. Right.
And I love you for it.
Right. Now that's how the world needs to go. In
Right.
ways. Now, if somebody have a problem because you don't like all right, because you don't like chocolate ice cream, I'm gonna beat you over the head about your snow bunny ice cream. You know, talking about
Uh-huh.
your snow bunny ice cream,
Yeah.
your pink toe ice cream, or something like that. It's foolishness, man.
To be honest, Take, I do not like chocolate ice cream. It makes me
Oh no,
sick.
you hit a chord. You didn't hit a chord with me, man. I love chocolate ice. That's the
I
only.
don't even like chocolate. Like I don't like chocolate at all.
Hey, listen,
And
everybody do it. You need to send Drew some Hershey candy.
no,
Send,
I'm gonna
send
get
him,
sick.
we're gonna send him about 100 Hershey candy bars, man. Make him eat them. Hey,
This chocolate makes me sick. Like I don't like it. It's not good. From the time I was my mom told me from the time I was a baby, she tried to give me chocolate ice cream,
what?
and I tasted it and I threw the cone on the floor.
Come on, man. Go
And so
ahead.
she gave me vanilla, not vanilla, but rainbow sherbet.
Rainbow sherbet.
She gave me rainbow sherbet and I loved it. And my brother was the same way. The
Well,
girls ate chocolate ice cream. The boys liked
yeah,
either vanilla or rainbow sherbet or sorbet. I
yeah.
love sorbet. Sorbet is my favorite. Raspberry sorbet is my favorite. But
Oh, like I said, I like chocolate ice cream. It's pretty
yeah,
much
my wife loves chocolate ice cream.
right.
Loves chocolate ice cream.
Right.
She'll eat it for days.
Y'all a match made in heaven. Look at it. Just laid it all out for us, bro.
She loves chocolate ice
Think
cream and
about
she loves chocolate.
real quick. I want to talk about love, uh,
Yeah.
because what you're saying is what everyone needs to pay attention to more than the differences that we have. It's easy to see the differences in people. It's easy to see, okay, what a certain group may be doing or what another group is doing or whatever. But when it comes to love, man, that I genuinely have to learn to love a person. And for people to say that, I hear some of the weak, craziest things, man, that you shouldn't love. And I think that's a dangerous opinion for people to put out there to people who are dealing and struggling with love already. And it's been their problem that because they don't know how to love, they don't know how to trust, they stay angry all the time. And you can tell when a person does not know or have experienced love because they get angry like that.
Yeah.
It don't take much to get them angry. Instead of just saying, okay, this person thinks a little different than I do. Here's the thing about love. Love is inclusive. We're talking about the kind of love that creates societies, that create nations now, right? So now, if we're talking about America, yeah, everybody got something slick to say. None of y'all have probably fought for nothing. But the thing is, the ones who did, pay attention. It's still worth fighting for. It's still worth fighting for. Don't never let no fool tell you that. Who making money here and telling you to hate America while other people got to go fight for it. They making money ain't gonna lift nothing to fight for it. If we have to go and fight Russia or China today, some of y'all favorite YouTubers and people, guess what they gonna do? Run right back to what they doing. Run out the way, because it ain't in them. It's just about a bunch of this. And it causes division. It make people believe in you because you can talk a little bit. See, the devil is an influencer. And you influencing people with all of this rhetoric to cause division. And then you got the nerve to say the Black community is hopeless. Sad.
Right.
It's a lie. You know, love,